Welcome to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Brought to you by Contractors Connect, this show dives into real-world issues facing today's builders on and off the job site.
Whether you're swinging a hammer, running a crew, or scaling a business, we've got the insights, stories, and expert tips to help you level up in the building industry.
I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bacher. And together, we'll be talking shop with industry leaders, tradespeople, and innovators who are shaping the future of construction.
Let's get to work. This is Trade Talk. All right, welcome back to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm Erin.
And we are back with Dustin. Can I just start there? Sure. Okay. And we are back with Dustin Terry from Clear Harbor Wealth Management. We got so much great information, and we're going to keep asking him questions because he is telling us so many things that we didn't know.
I mean, I feel like I'm getting a free session.
We're getting a free session, and so are all of our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. This is great. So let's keep going.
Okay, so we were talking about investments. What is a simple, no-nonsense approach for someone who doesn't have time to study the stock market or crypto?
Hire a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going back to doing what you do, right? All your listeners, I'm sure, have gone to bid a job where a homeowner or someone tried to DIY a project and they've got to fix that mess now. Right. Just do what you do and hire experts to do what they do. That's my best advice there.
That's great
advice.
advice.
There's no reason for you to try to become an expert in the stock market. And if you're just opposed to that, then just buy an index fund and let it go. Don't try to become the next Warren Buffett while you're running your trades business.
It's unlikely.
Yes.
Stay in your lane.
Yes.
Stay in your lane. All right. So how do you recommend balancing reinvesting profits from the business versus building an investment portfolio personally?
Yeah, just like we were talking about in the last episode, I don't think you should do that too soon. But also knowing where you stand, knowing where you are in your personal financial plan, right? If something catastrophic happens to the business, are you okay? Have you taken enough money out? Do you have investments, real estate, other things? Things happen all the time, right? Your business might be running great now. But yeah, once you've got more to lose, once that business has become more established, then you need to also start building that personal freedom fund, right? That way, if something happens to that business, that you were okay and your family is provided for. So it just goes back to knowing where you're at in that life cycle of the business and where you stand with your personal financial plan.
But also thinking of them separately. You talked about that. Like, it's not all everybody swimming together personally and professionally.
Right.
We got to keep.
You got to know how they are intertwined with each other, but you want to keep those things separate. The brick walls in between your personal and your business life, for sure, with the legal barriers and everything. But financially, your personal financial freedom, we know, is going to mostly be tied to the value of that business or the income that business provides. So, once you get more to lose, once that business has gotten bigger and is spitting off more cash flow, that's when you want to build up that personal nest egg. So that way, if something, God forbid, happens to that business, you and your family are still okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of leads into exit planning, which we talked about a little bit earlier about, how to be desirable to an investment firm. But I don't think a lot of contractors necessarily think about how the business will run when they're no longer running it. So what does a well-planned exit look like?
One that's planned.
Right.
I've got some sobering statistics around that. 50% of all business exits are involuntary, right? When we say, hey, in case something happens, right? Yep. The reason we say that a lot, and it sounds like we're being negative.
Morbid.
It is because it happens. It happens 50% of the time. Someone gets sick, someone gets hurt, there's something happens in the family, the business just takes a nosedive for what you lose a key employee.
The economy changes.
Something, right? Something happens. 50% of all business exits are involuntary. Of the businesses that go to market, 30% of the businesses that go to market to be sold actually sell ever. So 100 businesses go to market, say, hey, I want to sell my business. Only 30 of those will sell. Of that 30%, 10% will actually get what the owner thought it was worth.
Wow.
So 1 out of 100 business owners will actually sell their business and get what they thought it was worth. And the reason being is because they did not have a plan. They didn't know where they started the process of selling the business when they were ready to exit the business.
Right.
As we talked about in the last episode, that is way too late.
Right. At least 5 years out.
You need to know what that business is worth today.
Right.
If you're on your same growth path, what it's going to be worth in 3 years, 5 years. Who's going to be your target buyer? Is there somebody in the business that's or in the family that's going to take it over? Are we going to go for a financial buyer exit? So having that plan in place as soon as possible.
And we talked about this more in the last episode, but acting and thinking like you're going to sell the business at all times.
Yes.
And you're always thinking that way. And maybe you aren't, but it sets you up for success.
Without a doubt. And we talked about it in the last episode as well. It makes it more enjoyable to run. But when those things in life happen, right, and you say, okay, something's happened in my family, I cannot work anymore, it's time to execute an exit plan. You know where to go.
You have a succession
You have
plan.
the M&A people involved, or you have your wealth advisor that you've been talking through this for the last 5 years with. That's like, okay, I'm going to call Joe at M&A firm XYZ, and then we're going to bring in the CPA because we've been planning for it this whole time.
Right.
And
Like,
you just pull
how
the
is that
trigger.
different than somebody planning their will and testament? Like personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, like, how are the people even going to know the passwords? What if I don't know. You have to think through those things. Like, we should talk about that.
Yeah. And it is
She
because
gave me a smirk.
nobody wants to think about it until they do.
Yeah.
And because they're like, oh, that's a long way off. Like I said, like I mentioned before, like, I'm a long way from exiting my business, but I can tell you the earnings multiples that our industry gets right now. I can tell you the growth rate that we're on, and I can tell you all those things that I'm trying to get off my plate to take myself out of the day-to-day operations of the business that make it more valuable. That if something does happen, my wife can say, hey, this was Dustin's plan, and this is who I contact. Yes, execute.
I like it. I love planning ahead. I'm already buying Christmas presents.
Well, and I know with my husband's company, they have multiple partners. And so there is a plan for if one of them dies, if one of them leaves, and, how.
Divorce.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not.
How
I didn't mean. She was caught off guard by that. But it's a thing.
You weren't projecting.
Right.
No, I love Dan.
No, but there's a plan for, like, if he passes away, what I am not going. I'm not an engineer. I cannot take his shares. I mean, I can take his shares, but I can't take his place.
Right.
And so what that would look like.
Right.
Yeah, that's without a doubt, especially with multiple partners having that buy-sell agreement in place, right? And we talk to clients about that have a partner, and we're like, okay, something happened, and they don't have that plan in place. Something happens. Do you really want your partner's spouse to be in here making day-to-day decisions with you? Because y'all are 50-50 owners together now, right?
Yeah.
And if that is not spelled out in advance, that's going to be what happens. And then it's going to get settled in the courts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of terrible.
Are there any other elements to, you said having a plan, are there any other elements to having a plan that you think people need to take?
Just having the conversations, right? No, it's back to the wills and the legacy plans and stuff like that. Nobody wants to think about that. But just making the decision, hey, we need to talk about this, whether that's with a husband and wife or partners, just saying, look, we're going to do, and don't just pop into somebody's office and say, hey, let's talk about what happens when we sell the business, right? Like,
it's called adulting.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just something we have to do.
Yeah, put it on the calendar. Give people time to think. Get a couple weeks. Hey, let's talk about what this looks like. If something happens, what this looks like. What are we building?
Or what do we want out of this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, retirement. Sarah's actually working on her retirement plan now.
Every day.
Every day. I can't picture ever retired. I've kind of retired for a few months, a couple times.
Nice.
But a lot of people in the construction think their business is their retirement plan. Is that risky?
Yes. look, we want to plan for it to have value. But back to the statistics I just mentioned, 50% are involuntary. So yeah, it is a risky proposition, but and I get it. Like the majority of your net worth is in that business, and that should be a big component of your retirement plan. But if you're just saying, hey, I'm not going to do anything else other than this, when those bad things happen, when someone gets sick or dies, or something happens to the economy, that's when the plan gets blown up, right?
Okay. So it goes back to planning.
Yeah, it is. It's once you've got more to lose. Once you've got more to lose, once that business has a bigger value, then that's when you have to start looking at your personal financial planning outside of the business to know that you've at least reduced some risk in your personal financial life.
Well, and then in your own personal financial freedom fund, how would you recommend diversifying that?
That's a great question, Sarah. I know a lot of people in the trades industry are all in on their business and real estate, right? And y'all touched on that with the investments discussion. And look, we don't think a 2008 is coming again, and I can get into some of that stuff about where we think the economy's going and all that. But it might, right? The black swans are the things you didn't see coming, and a lot of times. People like to invest in what they know, right? So they invest back. That's why they invest back into their business, even though they don't know if they're getting a return on that capital that they're investing, because they don't know the growth rate of the business, because they know it, right? And so they're like, well, I know real estate. Okay, well, now you have all of your assets and all of your income tied to one industry, one sector. Just like in 2008, we saw all the realtors that had a bunch of real estate. They lost their income and they lost all their assets at the same time.
Right.
We talk, it's rare around here where we'll have people that work with a large public company, but it's the same thing if you work for a publicly traded company and you have all of your 401k in the company's stock, right? Something happens to that company, your income and your assets are gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, we do have quite a few people in Contractors Connect who work for publicly traded companies.
Yeah.
We do. A lot of people that work for corporations around here that commute, or they don't live here and commute into our events, but run our territory.
Yeah.
Okay, so what
Wait, hold on. I don't think we finished that, though.
Oh.
So how do you recommend diversifying?
Oh, great. Sorry. You can have some real estate. Most of our clients do have real estate. I just bought an office.
Yes, a beautiful office.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I love real estate. I love equities, public equities, and private businesses. I think, right now, given the demographic trends of where we're going in this country and what we see happening over the next 5 to 10 years, I tell clients all the time, I want you owning your business, some real estate, and public stocks, right? That's our go-to right now because we see so much growth coming in the next decade, maybe 7 to 10 years, mainly because of the trend with millennials. I'm 43. I will not ask you ladies how old you are. You're much younger, obviously.
No, we're 42.
But so 43, the oldest millennials, right? Just hitting peak earnings years.
Call us elder millennials.
That's right. And so you hit 40 to 60, that's peak earnings years, peak earnings and peak consumption.
Right.
Millennials are now the largest generation in the country, right? Larger than the baby boomers. And we will be larger than the babies boomers were at their peak in population size. This takes into account immigration as well. So you got 72 million people just moving into their peak earnings years. They're inheriting $3 trillion a year from their parents.
From their baby boomer parents.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then also, everybody's losing their minds because mortgage rates are above 6. When this period started for the baby boomers back in the late 80s, when they started moving into their peak earnings years, mortgage rates were 13, 14, 15%, right? So you got a very large generation making a lot of money, inheriting a lot of money with relatively cheap debt out there. That is a lot of fuel for an economic engine.
It's exciting.
Yeah, so we're
Some good news finally.
It is. And so we're so optimistic about the economic growth over the next 5 to 10 years purely due to supply and demand, because you've got so many people with so much money that are going to be buying goods and services of our economy. So that's why we say invest in your business, invest in real estate, invest in public equities. All this caveated with talk to your personal advisors, right? I don't know anybody listening or their personal situation, but that's our recommendation mostly for our clients right now.
Well, it looks like the forecast is sunny.
It is, yes.
If you're in the construction industry and your marketing feels more like a punch list than a plan, it might be time to call in the pros. At Bespoke Consulting, we help contractors and construction businesses get noticed with branding that builds trust, websites that convert, and marketing strategies that actually move the needle. Want to grow your business without wasting time or money? Start with Bespoke. Learn more at bespokeconsulting.com. If somebody feels behind on retirement, what do you recommend for them?
Are you really knowing whether or not you're really behind? A lot of times people will say, I'm behind. And then we start digging in and we're like, okay, what are your expenses? What cash flow do you need in retirement? And we find out, hey, they've got a few $1 million and they're misers and they spend no money. I'm like, you're not really behind, So knowing where you stand personally, it goes back to just having that comprehensive plan first and foremost. The analogy I use, right, is like if you're going to get in your car for a road trip and you're going to put into your Google Maps where you want to go, there's two pieces of information that thing needs to know. It needs to know where you're at currently, which it gets from the satellites, obviously, and it needs to know where you want to go, right? And a lot of times clients know where they want to go, or they might not know either one, really.
Right.
But they don't have a clue of where they stand currently. Are they on that path to retirement? Are they really behind?
Yeah.
And if you are, then, let's have that discussion and talk about, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff in the business that's not generating a return on that capital. Maybe it is time to start taking that money out and building that personal retirement fund. So knowing where you stand and getting a plan in place to get to where you want to go.
And having a professional to guide you through the process for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. I
think a lot of times people just haven't even taken the time or have the skill set to really look and see, like you keep mentioning, is that arm of your business really profitable? I mean, I think a lot of times people are like, it will be soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, let's talk about legacy planning. I think, we touched on a lot of construction companies are family owned. And so how would you recommend that owners think about what happens after they're gone if they have a family business?
Yeah, that's tough. And I get that it's tough, right? And it goes back to having those tough conversations. If you got a kid in the business or two kids in the business or one kid in the business and one kid not in the business, that becomes a very delicate situation.
It's making me think about the show Succession.
Yeah. So it's a delicate delicate issue, right? And so you got to have those conversations. You got to, like we said earlier, schedule a time to discuss it. And if the family dynamic is not great, even bring in a professional that does that, right? Like we don't do that, but we have some of our vendors that we work with that they have
kind of mediate
to mediate the conversation, right? And so then you're hearing from a third party, hey, you're not really doing anything in the business. You should not be the one to take over running the business.
Right.
So having those tough conversations, but if you don't want to do that on your own, hire someone to facilitate it.
And it could get even more complicated if you have multiple partners and let's say every partner has 3 kids.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. So what is the difference between having a will and having a legacy plan?
So a will is just a wish list, right? Like, and I'll back to the conversations about we don't do, file taxes. We're not CPAs.
Right.
We're also not attorneys, right? We have partners that we work with that put this stuff together. But a will is just a wish list. If you have everything that is in your estate and you don't have trust or titling correctly in a transfer on death account or things like that, basically your estate goes to probate, and that will go to the probate judge, and that will says, hey, this is what we want to happen. there's no guarantee that that's what that judge is going to decide, because if it goes to probate, there might be a creditor that shows up that says, hey, Jill or Joe owed us $1 million, and they have a claim to make on that estate, right? So a will is not much, right? You want to have a full legacy plan in place for likely anybody listening to this should have a real estate plan done with an estate planning attorney. That way, you just kind of know what's going to happen if the unfortunate does happen.
And again, we talked about this in the first episode. Somebody like you is a mediator between those specialties, like
That's
an
right.
estate attorney and a CPA and who else? Who am I forgetting?
Business advisors,
Yes.
CPAs, attorneys.
You're the glue.
Insurance brokers,
Right.
P&C insurance brokers, all that, right? Like, we will either have those conversations with you, with those specialists, or at least tell you the questions to ask. But yeah, a lot of times, if we get just a client that comes in that's not a business owner, that's just, there's a retiree that's just got IRAs and their personal residence, well, maybe a trust is overkill, because your IRAs, they have named beneficiaries on them. Those are not probate assets, right? Things of that nature. So it's just knowing, hey, your situation is complex enough that you should talk to an estate planning attorney and get your documents really set up. And then secondly, back to the discussion on asset protection, making sure that you're really treating those entities separately. When it comes to setting up trusts and things of that nature, making sure assets get retitled in the name of the trust. A lot of times clients will get a trust done. The attorney gives them a binder. They come in, they say, hey, I've got a trust. They set it down on the desk, and we're like, great, let's see all your investment statements. They start giving us the statements. It says their personal names at the top. I'm like, okay, this is worthless because you have not titled anything in the name of the trust, so it doesn't mean anything.
So much to think about. I can't quite imagine doing this without. I'm
No
calling
way.
you the glue.
Right.
No way.
With somebody to. I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot to handle. And
But it
really,
has to be done.
As a business owner, you should be focused on your business
Right.
and doing what
Yeah.
you're good at and what got you to this point in the first
Yeah,
place.
it goes just hiring the professionals. Stop trying to DIY your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything is going you're if you focus on your unique skills and growing and running that business, that will become worth more. Stop trying to learn all these other industries. And
Don't
do
be the
them.
hero.
Yeah.
Outsourcing is in.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. It is
It's
for
trending.
sure. Okay, well, you've given us so much valuable insight, and I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I think Aaron and I need to go and do a lot of work right now to make
Yeah.
sure we're set up properly.
I can't decide if I feel better or worse, but it's, they're both valid feelings.
Yeah.
But
Great.
it's time for our favorite part, and it's the
Yes.
rapid fire round.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask you a few questions, and you're just gonna not overthink it. You're gonna give us quick answers.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind.
I'm going to caveat it with all that it depends. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so I'll start. So buy or lease your trucks.
Buy.
Okay. Is keeping it all in the business smart or risky?
Oh, I think we've touched on that
Yeah.
quite a bit. Risky.
Okay.
Okay. Better to pay down debt fast or invest extra cash?
I love good debt. There's no, it depends on the terms. There's no reason to pay down good debt too quickly if you've got good terms.
I like
Okay,
that.
well, I'm going to go home and tell Dan that.
Let's get some good debt.
Yeah. If you have a great year, big profit, what's the first place you would put that money?
We hit that already too. If the business is growing quickly, put it back into the business. If it's not growing quickly, take it out, invest it in, I would say, the equity markets.
Okay.
All right. Biggest money mistake you see business owners make?
Not having a clue where they stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Head in the sand.
Yes.
Okay, what's one thing you want your kids to know about money?
That's a big one.
Dustin has 3 girls.
I do.
Okay.
I want them to know how expensive they are. No.
Yeah.
Money is just a tool. It's more money in and of itself is not the goal. It's what that money provides for you. It's the lifestyle, the freedom that it provides. It's the things you can do for other people. It's just a tool. It's not the goal.
That's very well put. And it's kind of a tough question.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been wonderful. I know you've got your book is coming out in September, I think.
Yeah, we'll be live in September, and looking forward to it. And I tell you what, for the listeners of the podcast, kind of as a takeaway, if anyone wants I'll give your listeners a free digital version.
Awesome.
What's the best way?
We will upload it on the blog that holds your podcast and make sure that it's shared through social media.
For sure.
Yeah,
That's very generous. Thank you. And then if people are interested in using your services, how can they reach you?
Yeah, probably the best way is just go to the website. There's a scheduling link there, www.clearharborwealth.com.
Great. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. It's been fun.
Want to grow your network and your business? Join Contractors Connect, the go-to networking group for professionals in the building industry. For just $400 a year, members get 4 complimentary meetup tickets per year, a featured spot in our online directory, visibility at every Contractors Connect event, and more. Whether you're a contractor, vendor, or service pro, there's a place for you here. Join today at contractors-connect.com/memberships, and let's build something great together.
All right, before we wrap up this episode, it's time for you to go on the road, and we are at Bay County, our last Contractors Connect, and we are going to show you some clips from our Trade Talk booth.
All right, so let's dive into
Voices from the Booth. That's the
funny
best part.
every time.
Okay, so first up, we have HB Next.
Hello, I'm Lindsay, and we are here at Bay County Contractors Connect. I've got HB Next with me tonight. They are one of our networking sponsors, so thank you guys so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And we are super excited to learn a little bit about your business. What can you guys tell me?
So we are an environmental compliance company. Our company actually does all kinds of compliance, but we represent the environmental side. I'm April Harrison, and I'm the VP of Environmental Services. And this is James, and he is our Director of Operations here in the Panhandle. So I will let him kind of talk about what he's doing to keep everybody in compliance with the Florida environmental protection.
So either once a week or after a half-inch rain event, I put boots on the ground and go out and visit our sites. Basically being someone in direct contact with any projects managers, superintendents, to get them all the information they need to stay in compliance with all the state.
Well, that's really interesting, and it sounds like maybe we should have them on the podcast. They've got a lot of advice that they could give.
Absolutely, I've been thinking that.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we have Larry from Valcor.
I'm Lindsay. I'm here at Bay County Contractors Connect. I've got Larry with Valcourt, and I would love to learn a little bit about your business and what you guys do.
Well, the simplest way to describe our business is we do exterior weatherproofing. So whether it's post-tension, anything to do with the exterior of the building and the safety of the building is us.
Awesome. And what areas do you guys service?
From Biloxi to Jacksonville. And we're all over the country, but our office is basically the Panhandle all the way to Jacksonville.
Perfect. Well, we're so glad to have you tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
All right, well, that was good to hear from Larry. So now let's talk to Claire from AdvantaClean.
I'm Lindsay here at Contractors Connect tonight in Bay County. We're here at the Trade Talk booth. I've got Claire with AdvantaClean, and we are super excited to learn a little bit about your business. Tell me what you guys do.
Well, thank you so much. We are a 24/7 turnkey operation that deals with water loss, mold remediation, restoration, as well as air duct cleaning, fire loss, and any other needs that you may need. We deal with residential and commercial locations.
Awesome. And what areas do you guys service?
Anywhere from Panama City Beach to Pensacola.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you also to Stonescapes, who is the sponsor of our Trade Talk booth tonight. And we hope to see you at a future event.
Of course. It's a great idea.
That was great to see Claire at this event in Bay County. She actually was at our Contract Her, Caffeinate, and Collaborate, too.
I remember that at Carrot Top.
Yes, awesome. So, again, special thank you to our sponsor for the Bay County Trade Talk booth, Stonescapes.
Yep, they've been the sponsor for the past event, and we're hoping they'll come back for the next one.
Definitely. All right. Well, I think that wraps up this episode of Trade Talk. We had a great conversation with Dustin, and we are excited for everybody to hopefully get inspired and learn from him.
Yeah, I learned a lot, and I hope he'll come back and kind of zone in on some specific subjects.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any topic ideas they'd like to learn more about, make sure to message in the comments.
Right. So Trade Talk is streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. We're also on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. So make sure you are liking, following, sharing, all the things. And we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning into Trade Talk, powered by Contractors Connect, where construction pros connect, share, and grow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew.
Until next time,
Stay sharp,
stay safe,
and keep building.